Tonight, mental health funding boost, almost $500,000 on the way for Headspace Waiawa, with a focus on young people. And too fast for comfort, the Flinders MP calling for lower speed limits going in and out of Port Lincoln.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf Studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Young people on the Eyre Peninsula will soon benefit from major improvements to the local Headspace Youth Mental Health Centre. The federal government announcing it will provide more funding to help manage the rising demand for services in the region.
Over $448,000 worth of federal government funding is on its way to Headspace Waiawa. The funding is part of a $44 million announcement to support youth mental health services across the country.
What we've been able to do right now is get that extra money into 57 different headspaces across the country and also reinstate those telehealth services.
The enhancement grant opportunity will reduce the long wait times young people in need of support are experiencing and enhance the quality of important services such as targeted intervention clinics and telehealth appointments to remote clients.
Services are also further spread. So obviously if you're in the CBD, your access to services is probably going to be easier.
Senator for South Australia Karen Grogan says her recent trips to Spencer Gulf cities and data from the ABS has highlighted the country's growing need for mental health services.
There were well over 1 million young people between the ages of 16 and 24 who were experiencing mental health issues.
The Senator says the impacts of the pandemic, the stress of school and work, as well as the growing pressure of housing shortages and the cost of living going up, means that these services are needed more now than ever before.
So we have to make sure that we have sufficient services, that people are not waiting for months and months to get an appointment, which is sometimes the situation now.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
With Broken Hill's daily COVID cases increasing by almost 200% over the past 3 weeks, we are far from being out of the woods, especially with the new subvariants popping up. And while we are accustomed to the isolation and social distancing recommendations, it's important to remember our mental health in the process.
Australia still has a long way to go when it comes to COVID-19, especially with Omicron subvariants, BA4 and BA5 rearing their ugly heads.
Ultimately, these subvariants are just the next extension of the mutation of the virus that we're seeing, and they're becoming obviously the dominant strains.
The difference between these subvariants is that they are trying to avoid our vaccines and other measures that we've put in place.
So it's really important for us to make sure that we're continuing to take COVID seriously. We're staying up to date with our vaccination boosters and making sure that we have our highest levels of neutralising antibodies.
And while we're not exactly getting more complacent, we may be experiencing some fatigue in regards to the virus.
I think it's understandable that having this now been going on for over 2 years, starting to get to the point where there is hope that we could get back to normal life prior to COVID. The reality is that that's not something that will occur.
During this time, it's important to make sure we're looking after our mental health, especially in rural and remote areas like here in far west New South Wales.
We already know that over 8.5 million Australians suffer from a mental disorder at some point in their life. We've seen an increase in that with the impact of not only COVID, but everything else that's going on.
And for those who are feeling physically and mentally isolated, tapping into telehealth is one way to get help.
There's services now that can mean that you can continue to look after your health, specifically your mental health.
Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
There's been a fresh call to reduce speed limits on the outskirts of Port Lincoln to ensure better safety for travellers leaving and entering the township. Western Approach Road is the focal point, where the member for Flinders wants to see speed limits slashed by 30 kilometres an hour.
Vehicles travelling in and out of Port Lincoln at the maximum speed limit. But the member for Flinders is now calling for the speed limit on Western Approach Road to be dropped from 110 kilometres an hour to 80.
but we actually see a speed limit of 110 coming in, and movements of heavy vehicles, grain trucks and other heavy industrial vehicles mean that there's slow-moving vehicles converging with fast-moving vehicles, and it makes a dangerous situation.
To ensure better safety for commuters, Mr Telfer is urging the state government to reduce the speed limit.
I'm really calling on the state government, along with other businesses along this way, to lower the speed limit down to 80 kilometres an hour, so it's actually a safer environment to be moving.
A growing industrial area leaving many business owners concerned for their safety of themselves and their customers. Grain transport also using the roads where bigger trucks are driving past smaller vehicles at speed.
The cessation of the rail network and the more of the grain tonnage coming through the roads and through this entrance into Port Lincoln. But it's exacerbated something which has been a growing challenge for us already in this industrial area.
The member for Flinders has written to the Minister for Transport and is encouraging locals who feel the same to also make contact. Locals concerned for the worst.
This is potentially an accident waiting to happen. We don't want to see the point where something happens, a life is lost or there's going to be injuries, when we can put measures in place to stop it.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, coming to life, the development of Waiawa's new hotel moves into the next stage and welcoming the next generation. Trainee nurses descend on Broken Hill and surrounds to start their regional placements. Welcome back to this early edition of 7 Spencer Golf Nightly News. An Adelaide development company is getting closer to building international hotels in Waiawa and Victoria Square. The company now sourcing the materials for the $300 million building project.
More green lights for Waiawa's tourism industry. A $138 million hotel development on the Waiawa foreshore is getting closer to fruition, with hotel developer Thrive saying they're now sourcing sustainable materials such as laminated timber and green steel to build the structure. It comes as the company's master plan was approved by the council earlier this year.
No, we're very pleased with the response from the Waiawa Council and the efforts the senior management team have put in.
The development will be built on the current site of the Waiawa Foreshore Motel and will include 164 suites and 49 apartments, all within a few hundred metres of the city's iconic jetty.
The hotel will become essentially a beacon, not only for visitors and tourists, but also in terms of the opportunity to host events.
The building company has doubled down on its investment into South Australia, also planning to build a 31-level building in Adelaide on the northwest corner of Victoria Square. Thrive says the Victoria Square Hotel is designed to be a social and business hub for the city, while the Waiawa project would serve the same purpose in the region. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Nursing students have journeyed to the far west to begin a 20-week work placement in the bush. The University of Notre Dame students are excited to hit the ground running during their extensive stay in regional and rural hospitals.
Keen to work in the far west, nursing students from the University of Notre Dame will be exposed to all that the extended nursing program has to offer. And it won't just be in Broken Hill.
For my first 16 weeks of the program, I'll be going to Menindee, and then for the last 4 weeks, I'll be going to Dareton.
It's the second cohort to travel out this way. The first ventured to this part of the state back in February. The new group hoping to learn more in rural settings.
To expand my knowledge, to develop cultural awareness, and to really learn about community engagement, because I think that's something that we don't necessarily learn a lot about at uni.
This week, the students have been based in Broken Hill for orientation, before moving on to other locations. And it has been a fun-filled week getting better acquainted with each other and learning new things.
Brought a lot of attention to the fact that, you think you know a lot, but there's a lot of things to improve on already. And I think we've come a long way in such a short period of time,
Mayor Tom Kennedy and others from the City Council were on hand to welcome the students to the Silver City. He was also trying to recruit them for local sporting teams.
Look, I'll give it my best shot. I don't know how well it'll go, but he also said football was a good go here, so we'll give that a good shot as well. So I'll give netball a go, but yeah.
The students will head to their chosen areas next week. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Delayed again. Why the Desalination Site Selection Committee has postponed revealing where the plant will be built. And setting goals for the future. The inspirational South Australian mum and former Matilda rising above her breast cancer diagnosis. Welcome back. Another desal delay. The people of the Eyre Peninsula will now have to wait an extra week before a preferred site is selected for the desalination plant. While a desal site was hoped to have been selected this week, the committee has pushed back its meeting. A polling process was scheduled to take place at the beginning of August, where they would recommend a site to SA Water and the state government. However, the committee will now reconvene in a week or so, citing illness as one of the reasons behind the delay. Once the goalkeeper of the Matildas, to becoming a mother of 2 and now a cancer survivor, Emma Workus is telling her story and kicking goals along the way. The inspirational South Australian is taking part in Camp Quality's Camp tomorrow night, an Australian-wide fundraiser helping to support families facing cancer.
From representing her country on the world stage to coaching her young kids' soccer team on a Sunday, Emma Workus has had a decorated career, but nothing could prepare the former Matilda for her next challenge.
I guess so now I'm 40 years old now, but back sort of last year, just after turning 39, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And for me, it came, I guess, completely out of the blue.
A fighter both on and off the field, but seeing her 2 young children start to worry for their mother, Emma decided to seek help.
You know, I remember, I think my youngest would ask me just about every week, "Are you going to die, Mum?" You know, that was her thing. "Are you going to die, Mum?" And my eldest he was more of a, you know, at 8, sitting there telling me, "Oh, Mum, you're not going to work. Does that mean we're going to lose the house?"
Despite receiving overwhelming support from her family and friends, Emma needed to make sure her kids were well looked after. And that's where Camp Quality came in, the organisation taking the strain off her shoulders by taking the kids to puppet shows or teaching them archery lessons.
I can't thank them enough, honestly. When you're sitting in that space and you just don't know what to do and there's no one else sort of looking out for them, it's just such a reassuring thing as a parent to go, someone's thinking of them.
It's estimated that more than 16,000 children aged up to 15 years are impacted by a parent's cancer diagnosis. This Saturday, Camp Quality is hosting a campaign across the state where families can pitch up a tent within their homes to raise funds supporting kids facing cancer.
We've always been a camping family, so my family's grown up camping. We've always taken the kids camping right from a really young age, and it was something that since my cancer diagnosis I couldn't do.
Now life couldn't be better, returning to coach her son's soccer team, but the youngster isn't missing his chance to outplay his world-class mum.
He's certainly happy to try and play with me. He loves trying to put a few past me, but he doesn't take the coaching so much from me anymore.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
ARIA award-winning singer-songwriter Amy Shark is performing in Waiawa tonight. Having just wrapped up her major city arena tour, the Gold Coast local is now on a mammoth 42-date regional tour of Australia. Impressively, organisers say her See You Somewhere Australia tour is one of the biggest of its kind the country has ever seen. After her show at the Middleback Theatre tonight, it's straight through to Renmark to continue on east. Stay with us after the break. The former AFL star heading to the Silver City for one of the local leagues. And we'll have the weekend weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. A former AFL star is heading out to Broken Hill this weekend to play footy in the local leagues. Tom Rockliff has 154 games under his belt, playing for both Port Adelaide and the Brisbane Lions. His presence sure to bring some extra oomph to the Bulldogs.
Round 12 of football here in Broken Hill. What two cracking games we've got. South and Central at Alma Oval. South are the heavyweight champions of Broken Hill, taking on Central, who want that title. South will win, but the Magpies will have a crack. At Jubilee Oval, it's North and West, and former Port Adelaide and Brisbane star Tom Rockcliffe will line up for the Bulldogs. That'll be too strong for West. North to win, South to win. Round 12, Broken Hill.
Just 5 rounds to go in Waiawa football before we play finals. Some important games coming up. Friday night football returns. Roona Bay versus South Waiala. Night games tend to be little bit closer than day games, but either way, the Bays should win comfortably. Saturday's game at Memorial Oval, West Waiala versus Central Waiala. It's third versus top. Be a high-class game, but no reason the top team Centrals shouldn't have a win here. But the match of the round and the important match will be on Sunday at Bennett Oval, North Waiala versus Rapina. North really need to win this, otherwise it's goodbye to finals for them. So a must-win game for them, but I think it'll be Roos that'll sneak across the line in a close one.
Welcome to Port Lincoln Footy Tips and round 12. Getting really close to finals and everything's starting to set up. In the first game, we got Waybacks hosting Lincoln South at Centenary Oval. Waybacks have had a couple of poor rounds of late, and Souths, they're playing pretty well. Haven't got the runs on the board, but I think this is their week. They're going to get a big win this week. I'm tipping Souths to win by more than 5 goals. In the next game, we've got the undefeated Marble Range hosting Boston's at Wongaree. Marble Range won't drop this game. It's just a matter of how much they're going to win by. I'm predicting a big win. I don't even want to guess. Marble Range. In the last game, we've got Mallee Park hosting Tasmans. If Mallee Park are any chance of playing finals, they really need to win this game. In saying that, Tasmans, they're putting everything together. Tasmans are going to be hard to beat, and I'm tipping them to win by 5 goals.
Getting down to the pointy end, good luck to all the teams. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, it's Friday. How's the weekend looking?
It's almost the weekend, Maddie. Good evening to you and our viewers. Well, our farmers will be happy. Rain is forecast both days in various locations. I'll tell you exactly where and when in just a moment. Port Augusta reached 20 degrees today. Waiala wasn't far behind with a top of 19. Port Pirie recorded a high of 18 degrees. Looking more broadly at today's weather map now, Port Lincoln was our coolest centre, reaching 14 degrees. Broken Hill was 1 degree warmer, hitting 15. Cooper Pedy, the warmest centre on our map, 21 degrees today. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a high pressure system centred over Victoria will move eastwards to be centred near the New South Wales coast tomorrow. A cold front will move into the far west of South Australia later tomorrow, then over remaining parts of the state on Sunday. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. North to northeasterly winds 15 to 30 knots, seas between 1 and 2.5 metres. South to southwesterly swell between 1 to 1.5 metres. Between 8 and 16 degrees in Port Lincoln, plenty of rain too, up to 6 millimetres. A late shower to Incleve, 16 degrees. Similar conditions in Woodner, but a bit warmer, set to reach a max of 18 degrees there. 6 degrees in Waiala tonight, cloudy and 18 tomorrow. No rain in Port Augusta either, 19. Showers developing in Kadina, set to reach a max of 16 degrees. Cloudy in Port Pirie on Saturday, 19 degrees, partly cloudy and 15 degrees in Clare, and north to northeasterly winds around Broken Hill tomorrow, set to reach a max of 17 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, and it'll be another rainy Sunday in Port Lincoln. 3 to 5 millimetres is forecast to fall. Temperature-wise, 16 degrees. Rainy in Port Augusta between 11 and 19 degrees. Showers in Port Pirie, Kadina and Cummins as well. Moving on to tomorrow's weather map now, and it's looking drier than the weekend. 17 degrees and sunny in Broken Hill and Port Pirie. Sunny and 19 in Port Augusta. Some cloud coverage in Woodner and Waiala, 18 degrees. Showers in Port Lincoln, 17. And finally, taking a look at Tuesday's forecast now, the showers are back across the board. 24 degrees up in Cooper Pedy. Showers are 19 in Broken Hill, Port Pirie and Waiala. 17 in Kadina and Adelaide. 16 in showers in Port Lincoln. It'll be good to see the rain, Maddie. Let's hope it helps the crops. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Friday. I'm Madeline Kerr. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back on your screen at the regular time of 7 p.m. on Monday. From all of us here, have a wonderful weekend. Good night.